Solar System's Scaled Properties project. So for this project, you're going to want to make sure that you hit the minimum requirements. Here's what's needed. For each solar system object, use important characteristics and data to form a conclusion about the identifying characteristics. So what I mean by that is, what makes a planet and an asteroid an asteroid? In your conclusion, you should include things such as their features, which might include information about their surfaces or shapes or color. You will also need to include information about their sizes. You can find the size information on the exemplar packet which has been provided to you. The sizes in the packet are the radius of those different objects. Additionally, you'll have to include information about the composition of each object. That's another way of asking, what are they made out of? Or what layers do they have? What is their density? Again, information has been provided to you in the exemplar packet. You can see here on the screen the different layers of the inner planets. You can use that information for your composition section. Finally, you'll have to include location information. Location information needs to include distance from the sun. Those values are provided in AUs, which stands for astronomical units. Make sure that you have information on AUs included in your location section. You can always include more information than that, but at a minimum, you need information on the size, layers, and orbits of all of your objects. Now to earn a 3, you need to describe the differences between sets of solar system objects. You'll need to explain the differences using data. There's 4 different sets of objects I want you to compare. First, categorize the planets into 2 distinct groups. What I mean by that, explain how inner planets and outer planets are different. Second, explain how dwarf planets are distinct or different from actual planets. You can choose to compare dwarf planets to either inner or outer planets. Next, explain how asteroids are different than dwarf planets. And finally, explain how comets are different than asteroids. Again, for each comparison, you need to explain the difference in the data that you provide. Now, speaking of making comparisons, how do you make a comparison that will earn you points? The first thing you need to do is provide information on the same characteristic of 2 objects. So for example, you might compare the orbits of 2 objects, or the sizes, or the layers of 2 objects. Then you need to explain how the characteristics are similar or different. For example, you could say something is larger than something else, or certain objects are hotter than another object. Now to make sense of this, here's some examples. Let's compare sharks and dolphins. Again, we're looking for characteristics that they have in common so we can compare them. We might start with how they breathe and what type of animals they are. First, I want to provide the characteristics that are the same. So I might write a sentence such as, sharks are fish that move their tails side to side. Dolphins are mammals that move their tails up and down. Then I want to make a comparison. I want to explain the difference. So I might say, dolphins and sharks are different types of animals that swim differently. I could also compare their length. So again, I'll provide the data of the characteristic that's the same. So sharks are 21 feet long, dolphins are only 10 feet long. Then I need to explain what that means. This means that sharks are much larger than dolphins. final example is I might use their weights. Again, I look for the similar characteristic, in this case weight, and then I need to explain the difference. Dolphins weigh 350 pounds compared to sharks that weigh 2,000 pounds. This means that sharks are much heavier than dolphins. So while you're making your comparisons of solar system objects, provide the characteristic and the data, and then explain those differences. Good luck.